I want to talk about my spiritual journey, how everything became obvious. Like something woke me up, you know. I started with numbers and I just started to see 11 in everything. Like every time I looked at the time, I was working on a ship, like a small cruise ship, and it just said like 711, 211, 411, and I was like, what's going on? Like, so I googled it and it was like it popped up with angel numbers. So I pressed that because I always been in the back of my head, my consciousness, I always been believing. I always believed, but I was never attracted, or let's say I didn't like religion at all. It didn't make sense for me at all. You know, my family would go to church and stuff like that. I never liked it, you know, like a strange feeling when I was in church. I remember my mom and my mom's sisters. My mom has 12 sisters and 3 brothers. And I even remember I went with my grandmother when I was like very young. And I didn't want to go. I never wanted to go to church, you know. And I'm not saying that religion is bad, you know. It's just about you, how you work with yourself within that religion, you know. What you believe, you know. There's certain things that I don't resonate with. So with these angel numbers, some very interesting messages behind these messages. I realized that the circumstances, the situation of my life I was in, like exactly what I was thinking, how the stuck situation, my thoughts was exactly that. Like somebody's talking to me saying, listen, you here and you need to go here. You need to move forward. You need to listen. And I'm like, wow. I remember I called my wife at that time. And, you know, that hit me a lot because, in that relationship, she didn't like that. She was afraid. Like, that was like a no go. Ooh, no, 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 no. And she saw it as a religion. When you say angel or spirit praying, it it's just a normal reaction for a human being to think directly religion, and they get scared, and somehow they get scared, or they take distance, especially nowadays, and so I just continued, because that was something that I already knew, that by just being reading this, and it reflects where I am in my current life situation and how I feel. So when I came home from the ship, and it just continued, and I actually went for I would say months, but I was doing drinking and drugs at the same time, right? On and off. And I was not happy. I didn't know about my life. Where is it going? Like, this is just like, it doesn't make sense, you know? Yeah. And then I like I said in my previous videos, with all this darkness and stuff, I was in between being a little bit myself, but very much in a destructive mindset. You know, it would be like heavy, 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 just saying in my head, like, you're not worthy. I hate myself. I hate being on this planet. I hate being alive. I imagined how could I jump out of a mountain, or, a cliff, or a building, or should I take some pills to take my life? I didn't want to live. I didn't, it was really much. And thoughts came to my mind like, what about my kids? What about my family? And I knew that I had a light within me where I was supposed to do something with my life. I always knew that since I was a kid. And I always spoke to the universe, to cosmos, to my spirits, to my angels, to God, especially when I was sad. But not in a way. When I was younger, I was not praying. I was just talking. Like, I was just talking. Especially when I was very little. I remember my grandmother from my dad's side, when she passed away, it was full moon. And I just went to the window. Like, everybody was crying and sad at the funeral. And then the after funeral, where you go to the home and you stay there. And I was like, I was very young. Like, I can't remember, maybe 8, 9 years old or something like that, maybe 10. And I was just, I remember when I was sitting at the funeral in this, it was not like, yeah, church, let's call it church. And then it was at the hospital, and then she got cremated and scattered on a field, dressed, or what you call it. And I just remember like cries and stuff like that. And it was just, I couldn't cry. I couldn't. I don't know why. It was just like, I was trying to, because everybody else did it, right? And then when I came home at night, I was laying in bed, and I remember I went out of my bed and I went to the window. I took the curtain away, and it was full moon, and I looked at the moon. And I remember I said, why why did you leave, grandmother? I miss you, things like that. I even get sad when I think about it, because that was like a really emotional moment. I'm just 10 years old, and instead of speaking to my mom or somebody else, or I'm going directly to the window and talking to her, right? Like, I already knew that I could communicate with her, and tell her that I love her and stuff like that. So I've been like that all my life. Like, I remember when I was sad, if my mom was in her narcissistic mood, I would be in bed crying, feeling very sad, hurtful, broken heart. I was really crying like somebody just took a knife and cut my heart, like chop it in two. And then it was it was me just talking. I was just laying, asking God, why is this and stuff like that. Yeah, and then in my family, there's different types of religion. There's Hindu, I believe there's Muslims as well, Christianity, and Jehovah's Witness. So that was my granddad from my father's side. So he didn't like the cross. I remember I had like a cross. It was very popular to have when I was younger, in the 80s and 90s. Jewelry with cross and necklaces. Chains. And then I remember that when saw that, because I went with my dad to visit my granddad, and I had it outside. It was very popular to have it outside, and he went with his class, and he looked like, "What do you have there?" And I'm like, "Oh, what do you mean?" And for me, it was just a simple and trend. And then my dad took the chain and put it inside. And I remember he always did like table prayers. And I loved him, but he was very distant. He was not like he was there when I was very little, but then, my family is totally scattered, like broken. But I remember when I was young, everybody was together, and then afterwards, it started to dissolve. Nobody communicated, stuff like that. If it was my mom's play, I don't know, but she had a, a big influence on it as well, you know. And with that, there was in my younger days my favorite uncle, my grandmother. I can't call him uncle, but he was my grandmother's husband. He was from Spain, and when my grandmother she passed away, he was still there. But he would do like he would go to my kindergarten and put a present every month at my kindergarten. He will come and visit me like once or twice. His name was Pepe, and he was just like shining light to me. Like we could sit and draw for hours, or just sit on him and we would draw fish, boats, and he would tell me about Buddhism and yin and yang, dragons, different things. Like everything that comes up in my spiritual journey now is what actually he was explaining about. And I remember that my mom, because he was so close, he was like my sacred place to be healed, or to be in a safe place. That was Pepe. And I remember one day going home from school, and I'm getting a little bit emotional now. But I remember that I went home from school, and he came like towards me on the street. I was walking along the canal in Copenhagen, where I grew up, and he just looked at me with no life. Like he couldn't, and he looked down. He didn't want to look at me when he got closer. And I was talking to him like, "Hey, Pepe, hi," you know. So happy. I was so happy to see him, but he didn't want to speak to me. He was mumbling a little bit, but he didn't react on what I was saying, and he just passed by me like he didn't wanna recognize me, talk to me, and I stood there like seeing him walking past me, and I didn't understand it. It was just like, this is my safe place, right? And then I went home. I told my mom. My mom didn't react on it, and I knew where he lived, so I took my bicycle even though I was very young, and I drove through the city. And I remember I got lost a little bit, but I found the place, and I was like, I went there like often just to ring the bell, and I wanted to speak to him, but I never got to. Then I heard like maybe 15 years after, and I've been thinking about him a lot through my life, that he died through a very close friend of his. And he told me his last words was my name. Whew. And sorry. Yeah, so my spiritual journey, when that started, I had a dream, and he came, Pepe came. Oof. He came in my dream. There was a hallway, and there was several doors. It was a wide hallway, and he just opened the door, like, and the door. I looked. I went to the door as he opened it, and it was just like black space, and it was like deep. There was just like cosmos, universe, and that was like the first door to start this journey, right? And not long after that, I started to wake up early in the mornings to yeah, I couldn't sleep. So when I came down, it would always be 333, and I still read these numbers. I still do, but it was like intensively all the time, all day, from morning to night, morning to night, morning to night. And then it was winter time. I went outside. I have my coffee and my cigarette, and I saw the full moon. I've always been connected to the full moon. Like, there's some feeling that it's it's drawing my attention to it, and I get this peaceful sensation, like it's my thoughts are in the universe. Like, I don't feel that I'm really on earth, but just standing in space looking at it. That's the feeling, even though I know that I'm on ground. But it's just like hypnotized, kind of. way, and I saw like a light behind the moon, and I was like, "What is that?" Because that's like a smaller planet, or what kind of light is that? And I was standing there in the garden. It was cold, so there's this. When you breathe, you see the fog coming out. You know, the warm temperature of air coming out, and then the smoke as well, because I'm smoking and drinking my coffee. And I started taking pictures with my phone. I was like zooming in, taking pictures, and it was a nice feeling. And I went inside again, and then I looked at the clock, 4:44. So it went from 3:33 to 4:44, and I read it. But then what I remembered like clearly was that, why are you so busy with taking with everything around you instead of seeing what's in front of you? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, because I already started communicating with my higher self, the universe, angels, God. I speak to them constantly. And I've been in, you can call it silence, in my spiritual. I was not allowed. They told me very early, you're not allowed to seek help or be contacting other psychic people and things like that. Any spiritual people, you just need to do this by yourself. See, I try to reach out sometimes, and they just block it. Like, so I understood. Okay, I'm not allowed. But then I understood I had to take this journey alone. And yeah, so these pictures I took of the moon, after a couple of days, I was like, what's in front of me? Because that was just repeating within me. Like, they are trying to say, hey, Johannes, look at these pictures, look at these pictures. But they were not saying it like that. They were just saying, what's in front of you, what's in front of you, what's in front of you. And it's just like, the universe, the angels, spirit guides, God, it's not telling us directly how we should do things, how we should approach life, how we should. They are just giving us hints, and pushing us in the right direction. They are not allowed to interfere, because we have free will. We have our own choice, and it has to be our own choice. Otherwise, it's not intentionally right from your heart. You will follow someone else. So that's why we call it guidance. It's a guidance with hints. Hey, like we do with kids. Our kids, like my sons. I will give them hints, like he wants to eat with his fingers, and I'll give him a hint that where the fork is, right? And he will, okay, the fork is here. So he learns to think by himself, and then by taking that fork, he learned from that. He did it by himself. Instead of me taking the fork and put it in his hand, it would be a different scenario. Maybe he will expect me to pick up that fork next time as well. So this is how we have to understand how the universe and God and angels are working with us. They're not going to do things for us. We need to do it by ourselves. But with these pictures, I looked at them, and just in front of me, there's a spirit. my feeling was God, Jesus standing right there. Even though I'm not religious, I just had that sense. And I was uncertain, I had doubt about if it really was that because of religion. I didn't really want to say that's God or that's Jesus because in in my world at that time it's weird. It's just weird. It's just it didn't align with the life as a human being saying like that. That's too church, too spiritual. But then as well in the pictures, I zoomed in at the moon as I am very attractive to the moon. And the moon and the clouds are, when the light hits the clouds. And then one picture, there's angel wings on with the moon. So you have the moon in the middle, and then the clouds form like an angel wings. So I zoomed in, and then I saw lady's appearance, her face. You can see her eyes, her hair, her whole face, like standing there in the middle, and then she has the wings, and I'm like, wow. First, the face just in front of me, and then the angel, and then just on top of her, there's a other spirit that I don't really know what is. If it's Arcturian, because it's kind of alien-ish. And then the other pictures, they formed a heart. So I took like, this was 2020. They they, they appeared in these pictures in different places. And that was my not like I got a message after that they said that they came down, all of them, to visit me, and they used a lot of energy to come and show themselves. And that has been sacred to me. Like, that is like confirming that they are there. Like, they wanted to say, hey, listen, it's not something you are dreaming about or something. Like, this is real. This is something you need to wake up. And I understood. Like, I at the same time I broke my foot, three places, my ankle, and I was doing drugs. So the thing was that when I was on drugs, I had to just stand up, and I was doing something really bad. So when I was standing up, I broke my foot. And these drugs did as well. Like, it was just tearing me apart, tearing my family apart, because I was doing wrong things. So I was not myself. And I took the decision to stop it. But I didn't stop it like right away. It went like I had like maybe 3 months without it. And then suddenly I'll just jump into it and do it again. And then I'll have like 3 to 4 months doing it. And then, so I will do it like sporadically. It will just hit my mind like it's kind of an escape going back to the old me. So it was like trying to be the new me and the old me. And then with time, I eventually stopped, and I stopped drinking as well. I started to find the value of myself, my life, my spiritual path, and I understood that there's much more than just being me human, but actually I have a gift. And they showed me through this journey of awakening. The spiritual journey was me connecting with Mother Earth and communicating with nature and animals and creating art. I never did a painting, and then suddenly I just found the courage to make a painting, to make sculptures of wood, where it's not me saying, I like this wood and I would like to cut it like this and this and this, and then it would become a bird. I want to make a bird. No, it was not like that. I went to the forest. I picked up wood that was like I was guided to pick up by numbers. So the angels were saying like go to the forest, and I would agree and say okay, tomorrow I'll go to the forest because right now it's raining, and I'll go there. And then when I get to the forest, I'll follow my intuition. Like they started to click. I always had that, but I never knew it was them. So they will click, like they will touch me like that, and say, "Yeah, this way." So I knew, okay, this is yes, this is no, and they will go like up here, back, different places on my head, and I would just like go to the forest. There's different pathways that goes like one way and the other way, and I will still have doubt and be uncertain about is it right or wrong, but I was learning. It was a long process of learning and trusting it and things like that. But I will find a piece of wood that was talking to me. So sometimes I would go into an area that I felt like intuitive feeling that it's this area, and then I saw some feathers and I went into that area, and as soon as I said no, it's not here, and then I would just walk out to leave the area, and it's just in front of me. So it would always appear in different ways to teach me and awaken me, and tune into my abilities, my higher self, and when I started working with this wood, it was like feeling the wood was like a communication. It was like I would say like I do to animals now. Like a beetle came here this morning, and I'll just talk to it and say, "Hey, how are you?" and things like that. I would do that with the wood as well, and it was not like it was just automatically it would come like that. So I would touch the wood and start as it is alive, and it's kind of an energy field. It just spoke to me, but unconsciously I didn't know what to do. Like I was just starting to clean it. So all the decayed stuff, the loose particles and soft wood that has no strength anymore, I would just remove that in a way that it took long time, because this was I was not used to working with wood, and especially not these decayed parts. So that was a long process, but I understood, like, for me, I wanted to remove the cracks, worm patterns. There's different types of termites and stuff like that that will make holes. And these holes from termites will be so deep. So when you grind, it's just like you think you're there, and then suddenly it's just changing direction. It goes even deeper, and I got so frustrated. Like, come on, can you just stop? But that was teaching me as well. This part of making this piece of wood was teaching me about my way of acting towards things in life. It was so beautiful, like patience, patience in everything, love, compassion, trust, goodness. It was just like, and to control fear as well, doubt, every aspect of working with that wood. What, and I understood, okay, it's teaching me, I'm growing with making this. So what happened is that when I just followed these cracks and animal patterns that has been eating the wood and stuff like that. And then by doing that, the wood express itself like that shape. So let me explain. Like I have a piece that was like a torso, right? And it had like a pattern on one side, and that pattern was a worm pattern that I wanted to leave. And I highlighted because it was talking to me, so I highlighted that worm pattern, and it showed Africa, and one side it showed a lion's head. On the other side of Africa, it showed a bear. And then if you look from distance, you see a man hugging a tree. So you can imagine the top of Africa and then going down. So the and then the man standing, and you could see his eyes. I was like, wow. So I kept that piece like that, and I made it with rose leaves that I glazed in white. So I used organic rose branches with leaves on, and I spray painted it like dozens of times, and then clear coated it dozens of times. It became like glass. And then I put it like two component clear coat on as well. With time, that piece I sanded down not long ago. I knew that I had to change it. I removed the rose branches, and I started to remove all the cracks, like everything, and worm patterns. So that pattern doesn't exist. I have pictures, but I removed it. And then there's like a huge section within, like, so I had to grind that and make it hollow because it was like with cracks and holes inside the wood in the center. And as I'm doing that and shaping and removing all the non necessary things, it becomes turtle, a turtle. And that's with all the wood that I've been working on. It becomes like a swan, an eagle, but not an eagle where it's like a full eagle like you would imagine. It's an eagle where it's just the head of the eagle, but then it has wings. But then if you look from another angle, you see a little bird. If you see it from another angle, so there's three birds in one. I have pigeon, I have a whale, dolphin, I have a rabbit. I call it bunny. But you see different things in these art pieces that I've made. And I started to paint them. And then I realized that because I like to paint with my hands and just do what I do, like I never have a plan. And it just becomes like you see shadows, you see spirits, you see different things, animals in my paintings, and I'm like, wow. So I started going on this journey, and first I did it for money. I said, okay, this is what I'm gonna live up. I'm gonna make art, and then I'm gonna be famous, and then I had a plan that I would just follow my spiritual journey, and I'll do that. But I make a lot of money, and that was just like, and then I would do it with people, and I would help them, and but that was not it. There was much more to it than that. And then all this with the darkness and my life, I started to understand and got the information, like all information are given, like, because I asked, why am I going through all these things? And now I see all these magical things. Like, I have dreams where my granddad will come. He with a lot of other people, and he comes to hug me and say hi in my awakening time. I will have a dream where I'm just being pulled into a light where I feel peace. So I felt like, and everybody says it's like an initiation, and they told me as well on the message. And I've been very humble about it, very, and I always knew that I had psychic abilities. I'm very sensitive, so I feel what others feel, good or bad. I just feel it. So I've been learning that as well, to distance myself and take in what's needed, or just leave if it's necessary, because it takes a toll on me to feel other feelings, and it's not just one. If I'm a group with 10 people, I will sense all of them at once, and that's heavy. So I understood why I had this struggle as well. With wherever I was working, I would get everything towards me, and that made me do drugs, because I thought something's wrong with me. I thought something was wrong with me, and I wanted to dim it, because when I did drugs or drinking, it was just like, then you're numb, and you're not that sensitive. You just put it on a pause, right? But then again, it still works even though you do it. And then with the darkness, and with it will still be there, so it can go in different directions, and make you do stuff that is not really you. So I had a pattern for a long time, like an obsession of my ex-wife was cheating on me, and it was just an obsession that was created with my thoughts, because when I was myself, I didn't believe it, and then when I was doing drugs, it got enhanced. But I was cheating as well. And I'm not saying that she cheated. And for me now, where I am today, it's just, it's an experience. It is a teaching. It's a learning. I grew out of it. I got that challenge in life, and all the things that I've done. Police was involved. My whole family, my kids, everything was totally not me, and totally destructive. And I had to forgive myself and ask for forgiveness. And you know, I had a beautiful time coming to myself and understand who I am and where I'm going. And that eventually led to me leaving everything, everything. So I left my family. I still have communication with my kids. I'll never leave them. But the rest, I left. All my, what do you, no, so friends and family. But you have what's in between, people that you know that you have contact with, but they're not really like pure friends, but people you know. I left everything. I'm not explaining myself or anything. I'm not talking or trying to contact them. I'm just quite the opposite. It's like I'm on my spiritual journey. I'm working with helping other people now. Been doing it for a while, and now I'm doing this YouTube channel. And I still have my art, but I put it on pause. But everything is coming together on this journey, and the universe keeps saying, like, you are on the right path, and I understand that everything is evolving and growing, and it's powerful. I get surprised about myself being able to, sometimes when I have sessions with one to one, how much I can impact other people. And I understand it's not only when I have the session. I can go for coffee at a cafe and they will be uplifted. If they have heavy energy, it's just, I will go in and heal it. I will meet people with dark shadows and I will release that as well. I will go into a room at a restaurant or cafe or a shop, and things will just change automatically. I would see people that is in really, really darkness, that doesn't like me, like they don't want me to be near them, they will avoid me or something like that. So it's quite interesting. And this with, when I go to sleep, I would, especially through my journey of self-destructiveness, these alien eyes will just pop up. It will just like a darkness, because you close your eyes and then there will be like a bright light, and it will move around and then suddenly come to me like that and just open a little bit, and then I see an eye, and then sometimes it will come really close to me, and I'm like, sometimes I will enjoy it, sometimes I say go away, because I was in my destructive mindset, and it just, and but it would just come and check up on me. And now I know that that's Arcturian. I just recognize it. It's just, you know when you know, and then with everything else, like seeing visions where you see into the future, like I would see fire, war, or I would see spirits. I will see people that I have sessions with now that I saw visions about a year ago. And like I have one lady that I'm helping right now, and she has a horse, and I saw her a year ago brushing her horse and smiling, and she was happy. And that's actually her that I'm speaking to now. And I realized that, and then I told her, in her healing process, she needs to connect with her horse, and that's her safe space, that's a sacred place. And she is on a journey to become a coach, and with that, she needs to do it with her horse. And she got so emotional because that has been inside of her for such a long time, and she's actually doing it now. And I'm that's my life now. Like I'm so happy to see that joy. If I sit at a restaurant and I talk to people, and then they I I just automatic know what to say or give them what they need. So when they are in kind of a sorrow or worry or depression or any kind of patterns that they need to get out of, and they need to hear something to get that courage and wisdom, knowledge, power to move on, that it's okay, and then to be able to give them that just out of the blue. So I would be sitting at a restaurant connecting with someone random. It's not random, but you know, it's meant to be. Everything that happens for a reason, and it would be like, oh, that looks nice. What you're eating. They would say to me, or I would say to them, or something like that, and then it would be like we start talking, and then insights will come, and then they will open up. Like they will say, yeah, I know I have cancer, and I'm gonna this is gonna happen to me. I'm not gonna go into details because there are people out there that are gonna watch the movie and they're gonna know it's them, right? But I'm not saying, okay, I'm not saying any names, but then let's say one situation is with a tumor in her brain, and she will get blind very soon. And we talked further, and then she just started to cry, like, and I hugged her, and we spoke for some time, and I explained to her that she needs to heal herself, and much other things. And sometimes she said she was so happy, just my way of being and the way I talk. She went into this trance, like hypnotized ish, and I'm overwhelmed because that's for me is, yeah, I'm happy, but I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm just being me, right? And she actually we had a second meeting, and I told her things that she really didn't want to listen to. But that's the whole point, that I like it too, because that had happened several times, not more than several times. That I just know sometimes you hear things, and then it happens to me as well. It's not for now, it's for later. Because when you are in certain moments in life, and I had to give her that. So I understood why I had to meet her the second time, because that was not the same feeling as the first time. But then she got that information. That information is in her subconsciousness, and that will pop up when necessary. Oh yeah, Johannes, he said that, and it makes sense now. And then that will catch up to do what she needs to do. So what she needed to hear, she got already. And with that, it can be so simple. So by helping people, it can be in so many different ways, you know. And for me, it's just happening now. Like I will go in and get my vegan juice and stuff like that, and it would be like this lady wants to sit down, and I'm leaving. I said, "Oh, you can sit here. There's even a place where you can put your hand." And I realized, like, she said, "Oh, you doing the same?" And I'm actually not doing it. I don't have my hand there, but I realized that something told me already that she has her hand there. So this is awakening within me in a very slow way, and then I start to every people I see, I I just read like, and I'm trying to stop myself as well and say, Johannes, relax. You don't need to do that. But it just comes automatically. But it's just warming myself up to be prepared for everything that's coming. And I just know that it's something that it's very beautiful, but it's intensive, and that's why I keep very much for myself. I keep for myself because that that's what I need. I need to go out and be and do my service, and then come back and be into my own little space. And I need to create a balance with that. So this is a little bit about. It's already been an hour now, but a little bit about my spiritual journey and what's going on, and I can't wait to tell you more about it. But how everything developed, and going through the art process, creating art gallery, and knowledge of universe, spirits, angels, God, source of light, planet, cosmos, universe, our inner self, higher self. So all that knowledge in between, I will tell about that. But I think it's important now to not only talk about darkness and iconic energies, but then as well align with what what is what is life about, what is our soul purpose, what is our existence about, and what is going on in the world, and which direction are we going as well. Do we need to worry, or do we just need to actually just simply wake up? And my last word is actually, I move forward with my values, and simplicity is an important aspect to learn from. That anything you approach in life, do it with simplicity and a steady, slow pace. Never rush, never force. So, yeah, with love and light, I'll see you in my next video. Love and light. Love and light. I do the cross. I always done that. It's not for Christianity. I do that because I represent humanity. For me, that's a sign that represents humanity. Like you go out with your hands like that and you stand. It's the same. So for me, it feels truly as representing humanity. It makes sense for me that humanity representing their inner light, that we are a being of light with our soul, and that's why dark energies doesn't like it. But if you see it as Christianity, or it representing something out of you, it's not afraid of that sign. But if you align yourself with, this is me, I am who I am, then evilness or any low frequency energy cannot enter them. Very simple. Love and light.